What it do, everybody? It's your boy King Crowder back again with another edition of History You May Not Know, or history that is not taught in detail for sure. Today's lesson, we are going to focus on the great Levi Coffin. Who is Levi Coffin, if you ask? Levi Coffin is a trailblazer and an abolitionist. Levi Coffin was born October 28, 1798, of a Quaker American family. He was one of the influential people in the Underground Railroad between Indiana and Ohio. He was known because Coffin's home was where at the age of 15, where he even started assisting his families, allowing free Black Americans who were formerly enslaved, and he was giving them a midpoint of food and shelter as they sought their freedom. Mr. Coffin was known because he was teaching those who were less than how to read, how to successfully establish themselves, and it was said in totality, his numbers of total enfreedment Black Americans was over the 2,000 mark. Most people don't know that over his career of 20 years, he assisted more people in this country than we can imagine. He was known to have a Grand Central Station in the Underground Railroad. When he decided to move to Cincinnati in 1847, is where he opened up his own business where he produced free labor and continued to operate his home as an Underground Railroad station. The Civil War was active around this time. That's when you began to see fights and barriers going on. He was one of the main ones that helped those that were formerly in the Confederate Army get their freedom. He would help clothe them, feed them, educate them, and let them know that they deserve the right as Americans to live the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness goals. After the war ended, Mr. Coffin raised over $100,000 for the Freedmen's Bureau when he wanted to provide food, clothing, and money to other freed blacks. With the flight over and slavery still being illegal at this time, however, he pushed hard for the 13th and 15th Amendment to be happened because he knew that they deserved the right to vote in this country. Slavery needed to be abolished, the right to vote should be legal, and that every American deserves this right as we go. Levi Coffin was such a trailblazer, even though he was born, most people do not know, near the place of Greensboro, North Carolina. Shout out to North Carolina A&T. He was born near this area because he was of the Quaker faith. The Quakers are a relatively, old-fashioned religion, you could say, in this country that have vocally, like the Amish, been wanting to be secluded and in their belief. They have a certain amount of belief systems and why they decided to migrate from the UK over to the United States. You see a lot of Quaker towns in the Midwest, northeast part of this country due to their origin of their history, which I'll take a deep dive in another video. What most people do not know is that the Quakers were very influential, along with mostly Levi Coffin, in helping them get their freedom. He was against slavery vehemently. He spoke out against it. He paid against it. And he urged an anti-slavery movement in and around his area. Coffin moved to Southwest Ohio, where he began to open up all his businesses in Cincinnati. And despite his efforts, he still began to lodge and go against them and the Civil War. People must understand in his final decade of his life, Coffin traveled around the Midwest as well as overseas. He went to Great Britain and France and talked to aid society and not only provided funding, food, and enslavement to those around the world. Coffin retired from public life in 1870s, where he wrote his autobiography, Reminiscences of Levi Coffin, which has been published in now edition. He was known to have his sunset as he passed away peacefully near the Cincinnati area. People do not know that he was known for his fearlessness in helping formerly enslaved people in this country. He was also known as a help-wide community activist, contributor, safe haven, and will give you the shirt off his back. He was one of the founding members of the president of the Underground Railroad in this chapter because he fought against slave trading. Historians have debated on how many enslaved people did he formerly set free. The number could be as low as 1,500 to as high as 3,000. So we'll go with the mental estimation. People in the Cincinnati and Ohio area love Coffee, and his legacy still lives on. Most people do not know this. In July 11, 1902, Black Americans erected a 6-foot monument at his gravesite in Cincinnati due to Coffee being a large historical movement that he was. The home of Coffee is a historical site, and he is an Ohio legend and native until this day. Levi Coffey is a trailblazer who we should talk about and honor about for what he did during the anti-slavery movement. He and John Brown are two pivotal figures that we should focus on and give them their flowers to this day. I'm here to give you the story of the United States and teach you what you never knew. That's what this channel is about. Hopefully you learned something you didn't know, and you found this information helpful. Levi Covey, the pioneer, the trailblazer, the guy that changed this country from a large grandstand in the best way he could. It's your boy King Crowder. Hopefully you enjoyed the channel. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you did and what else you want to give feedback on. I'm here because I want to make sure that I teach the entire American story in this country. That's the value and the things I want to do. It's your boy checking out. Peace.